The resource that I'm going to be reviewing for you today is called Renaissance Accelerated Learning for All. On this website, the actual assessments are referred to as STAR tests. So, why would teachers want to use these STAR assessments in their classroom? Well, first of all, they're very quick and accurate. The assessments are computer adaptive, which means that automatic adjustments are made while the students are taking these assessments. If a student gets a problem right, the next one that they get is going to be a little bit more difficult. Also, if the student gets a question wrong, the next one will be a little less difficult. There's no repetition in these questions, so students will never see the same question more than once, and accurate results are available immediately for educators to use. Because the questions adapt to each student, unnecessary questions are eliminated, which gives teachers a more accurate look and measurement at how students are performing and growing. STAR assessments are a great formative assessment to use in a classroom. Data collected through this type of assessment helps teachers screen for struggling students, set individual goals for all, monitor students' progress, track standards mastery, and then also predict educational performance. The assessments test students in 3 different domains. They include reading, math, and early literacy. The first assessment we'll talk about is the STAR reading test. The STAR reading test is designed for students in grades kindergarten through 12th grade. The different things that a STAR reading assessment tests students on are things like vocabulary, comprehension, different literature skills, such as like the setting and the plot of a story, summarizing text, and using different kinds of figurative language. Informational text, so things like making predictions, the sequence of events, or cause and effect. And then language skills that are assessed include things like context clues, synonyms and antonyms, and multiple meaning words. The STAR math test is designed to assess students in grades 1 through 12, and just like the reading test, it assesses students on so many different math skills. This includes things like numbers and operations, counting and cardinality, algebraic operations, geometry, expressions and equations, decimals, fractions, the actual number system, measurement, which includes measuring, time, money, perimeter, circumference, things like that, and also statistics and probability. Here's a picture of a grade 4 STAR math question. This is what the screen will look like for the students. The third one is STAR early literacy. So this is actually designed for like pre or emergent readers. So preschool through maybe 3rd grade, we would stop using this assessment. This also tests on many different skills for pre-readers, things like print concepts, so recognizing letters and words, phonological awareness, a lot of rhyming, blending, long and short vowels, phonics and word recognition, so syllables and then some of those high frequency words that they should be able to read right away. Fluency, so how many words correctly per minute can our students read, and how much of that are they comprehending when they are reading? And then vocabulary acquisition and use, so word relationships, multiple meaning words, synonyms and antonyms too, beginning to introduce students to that. A really awesome thing about the STAR assessment is that it not only comes in English, but also Spanish for our Spanish-speaking students. So why is it important to be able to provide our students with this? Well, just imagine that you get a new student in your classroom. This student is a Spanish-speaking English learner, and you need a benchmark test for them. So you decide to give them the STAR reading test. Well, you're not going to get a complete picture of their actual reading skills because you don't know what the student has already learned in their native language. So by giving them the English reading test, are you testing their reading skills or are you testing their English skills? It's really important that we can provide our students with this in Spanish. And all 3 tests are actually available: early literacy, reading, and math in Spanish. So how can students use these, or how can teachers use these in the classroom? Well, these assessments are super great to use as benchmark or starting point tests. So, like within the first couple of weeks of the school year, teachers can have their students take both reading and math assessments, and then you get that starting point. You can find out exactly academically where each student is. You get these great reports printed off. This is just a little glimpse of what a teacher's report would look like. You'd have all the students in your class listed here, but then the color coding makes it really easy to see which students really need some interventions or need to be on watch. The different colors make it easy. So the red means urgent intervention is needed, so that student needs something right away. Yellow means that interventions probably should be talked about starting with these students. They're falling a little behind. The blue just tells teachers that these students you need to be on watching to see how they're doing. And then green tells us that that student was assessed at or above benchmark. So like I said, the colors make it really easy for teachers to see which students in the class need some interventions, but then also it's a great way to measure growth post-intervention instruction. Here's another example of a progress report that you can get from the STAR assessments. This is an individual student's report. The black line that you see is the student's goal line, and then the dots are all the different times that the student has taken the STAR assessment. So you can see this student is definitely making growth up on their goal line, which is great to see. This is one more report that we can get from our STAR diagnostic testing. This is a great one to use at a parent-teacher conference because you see that line in green? That tells us that our student is either at or above benchmark in these assessments. And even if the student is in blue, yellow, or red, it's really easy for parents to see there's the line, this is how my student's doing, this is how my child's doing, what can we do to help bring them up more towards their goal? Before I close, I do have to touch on Accelerated Reader. So a lot of us are familiar with it. I didn't do AR as a student, but my children do it now, so I'm very familiar with AR. So students can choose their own books, whatever they want to read. There's more than 200,000 books found in the AR library that have built-in quizzes. Basically, students read a book. Once they're finished, they take a quiz. This quiz will assess them on their comprehension, their understanding, and how much they retained. If it was a longer chapter book, do they remember the first few chapters or not? Each book is at a set level where readers can be. So if we have a student, for instance, that takes this Diary of a Wimpy Kid and gets 2 out of 10 right, the teacher will be able to say, okay, we need to back it up. We need to find a leveled book lower than this for you. It's a great way for teachers to see how well students are reading and comprehending and remembering what they read. It's also very motivated for students because they want to get their AR points. So it motivates them to read more. And it's a great just way to, the STAR reading assessment is a great way to figure out where exactly students should be reading as far as book levels go. So the data collected through STAR assessments, along with many other classroom assessments and observations, are what help teachers make sure that all students in the class are mastering new skills. It helps monitor and see if students are closing gaps with their peers, and it also just motivates for accelerated academic growth for all students in the class.